Hi, and welcome to the client tutorials for Jones Fiduciary Wealth Management. Today we are going to be looking at how to interpret your quarterly billing invoice and billing summary. So if we're looking at your quarterly billing report, we are going to be, it's all the way at the bottom. First of all, you'll notice that I've added a QR code here, and there's a link here to a set of tutorials. So all the tutorials that I'm recording will be located at the link either by scanning this code here or by clicking this link. And that QR code is at the bottom of every page on your quarterly performance report. As a reminder, this quarterly performance report is generated at the end or within the first week after each quarter. So for the first quarter, it gets generated in the first week of April, so on and so forth. When you go into this quarterly performance report, I've got another video on how to interpret the report itself, but all the way at the bottom, in the back of this report is, well, there's another QR code for that same file, but the pages right before that is your billing and invoice summary. And so I'm going to walk you through how to interpret this. All right, so this billing standards details looks like it starts on, all right, so that's performance continued. And here's the first page of billing standards as stated here. And so this bill will show exactly how your bill is being generated. Now, the way that the fees work in general is that the first $500,000 is charged 1.25%. The second $500,000 is charged 1%. And then every million after that, it drops down. It drops down about 10 basis points. As you get further and further, it gets cheaper and cheaper. But that's how the billing works in general. There are exceptions, and I'll talk about some of them. But what's happening here is that your total billable amount is down at the bottom. Your total billable balance for this client, Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, would be just under $3.5 million. So on a macro level, we are taking that $3.5 million and running it through this billing and coming up with what the actual fee is. Now, for each account may not hit these individual breakpoints. And I'll give you an example. This first account has $258,000. Well, we know that up to $500,000 gets billed 1.25%. However, each account here is getting billed at the overall rate for that account. Now, what we're actually doing here is we are taking 91 days in this billing cycle and taking 1.25% and dividing it by 4 and applying that to the balance for each one of these. And so for the first account, it's plain and simple. For the second account, it's plain and simple. We'll note that the billable balance matches the actual billed balance. But we get to this third account, and the billable balance is $1.3 million. And there's a couple weird things going on here. For one, we have this Wickersham at 1% flat. So in this account, we have a separate billing, and this only applies to some clients, but you may see something like this. And that's showing you that this balance right here, for this client, they invested in a project called Wickersham, and they're being billed 1% flat. And so that is 25 basis points for this quarter, $625 for the quarter. They also have $889,000 that is subject to the normal billing schedule. Now, if you add these two together, you'll realize that it still adds up to less than 1.3. And that's because there's another balance in this account that is not being billed at all. It's actually, I know this from behind the scenes, this client also invests in one of my real estate access funds. That does not get billed inside this quarterly performance report, but the reason it's still taken into account is because even though it's not billed the same as these accounts, that amount that's invested in that fund is helping these accounts get charged less. So although it's not included in this bill, that balance that's held inside the fund is helping these accounts pay less. And so that's why these numbers don't quite add up here. And then, so again, this last balance matches that balance, so it's kind of self-explanatory. It is subject to that same billing. Now, you'll see that even though they're subject to the same tier, 1.25, this one has a different amount. They're both based on 91 days, so this has a different amount than this. That's because what we're actually doing here is we're taking the total billable balance and running it through this billing calculation here. And then we are assigning that proportion to each account. So since this is a lower account, it doesn't get the full amount. And I guess on the same token, even though this account is only $109,000, it's still being billed at each smaller cost because overall it is qualifying for those breakpoints there. A little bit difficult to explain in words, but it's really just a way of making sure that all the balances are billed properly, and then we are actually withdrawing those amounts from these account balances proportionally. All right, so another one where the bill adds up. All right, so there are adjustments to those fees. So you'll see the summary here, the billing payment details. You'll see that each account here has a billable balance, a pre-adjusted fee, and then amount deducted from that account. The difference there would be the adjustments. The adjustments are showing up here. So for this account, right, so for the pre-adjusted balance, this matches this. That means there's no adjustment in that account. Same here. This matches this. In this account, though, the billed amount, the pre-adjusted fee, does not match the amount deducted from the custodian. That means I need to go up here to look at the actual adjustments that are included there. And for that account, which matches this account under adjustments, I'm seeing that, oh, there was a deposit made in the middle of the quarter. Your bill is generated in the beginning of each quarter for the quarter that is about to transpire. So if you deposit money this quarter coming up, after I've already billed for this quarter coming up, I'm not going to go in right away and bill it and bill it exactly on that day. But when the end of the quarter comes and I start billing for the beginning of the next quarter, I do look back into the previous quarter and see what the deposits were. And I will bill that exact amount based on the exact amount of days of the quarter. On the other side, if there is a withdrawal, the same thing happens. I will adjust that fee, and it's going to give you a break. So this amount would actually be more than what's actually deducted from your account. So a couple nuances here. This is at the back of your bill. As always, if you ever wanted to look at these accounts and get a further explanation of this, I'm happy to do that. Hopefully this video will help you to understand it a little better in general. Thanks a lot, and thanks for watching the client tutorials for Jones Fiduciary Wealth Management. Have a great day.